Guys, come over here.
How do you
Come
do
over
it?
here. Come over here. Come
Oh,
over here.
I'm
Come over
coming. I'm coming. I'm on my way. I'm making my way. I don't know where you're at, but I'm on my way. Actually, where are you? Yeah, that seems about right. That seems about right. Here, wait. Can I sit with you? Can I sit with you? Oh, that ain't that gonna work. Oh, yay! There we go.
Yup. How's it going?
That's fantastic. Hello everyone, I'm Zonep and welcome to This Week in Baldur's Gate 3. So whenever we started this week, we actually didn't intend to play the game. We actually wanted to come back to World of Warcraft and do all that fun stuff. But, you know, life finds a way and we ended up doing Baldur's Gate. But the game's insane. Like, it's only on Act 1 right now, and I don't even think it's all of Act 1. But this game's supposed to have 3 acts, and right now we played, I think, 35 hours just in Act 1. And there's like so many different paths you can take that honestly, you could go way beyond that. But the game's nuts. So let's talk a little bit of how it went. So you know what's gotta be my favorite thing about Baldur's Gate though? Is just like, no matter how many times you try to do something, or like try to recreate something, or like try to make the same choices, you almost always get a different path. So whenever we started the week, we tried to do, I think it was like we tried to kill the first druid you meet because she is a terrible person, and we like, well, obviously we died a lot, but we try to make different choices based on like, you know, trying to get that outcome, and we got like wildly different things every time. So one time, you know, we saved the kid because that was the goal. We wanted to save the kid from the snake. But then there was another time where we failed, like our check failed and the child died. And so we wanted to take out the druid because, yeah, obviously. And so it went from like being stuff as crazy as like, you know, the grove being sealed with the ritual and whatever, a tiefling getting beat to death and whatever. I was like, oh my gosh, this game is graphic. But anyways, no matter what you did, like no matter what choices you made or like what you tried to recreate, you almost never got the same result twice. Like the world is just so, there's so many paths. Like you could go one way one time and then another way another time, and it's just like you could have a completely different story. So one of my favorite examples of this is actually later in the game. You end up meeting with a drow who's one of the absolutes chosen or whatever, and she will try to attack the grove and take out Halsin and take out all those guys for, I don't remember the reason, but you can either literally, you can join with the goblin band and take out the grove. Like you could literally sneak in and be like, I work for the drow or the absolute or whatever, and you could literally activate the gate and let them in, and like you would then be on obviously the goblin, the drow side and whatever, the absolute. But you could also fight for the grove, which is what me and my party did. We fought the grove, and we fought the grove. We fought for the grove and protected all the people, and it was just so insane. Like there's just, in Act 1 itself, there are so many different paths you can take. It's just insane. Like that is such a W, such a W. All the classes feel really good to play. It was actually funny. So I'm usually somebody that plays like a bard or like a rogue or maybe even like a wizard or something. But in this one, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play a barb, right? Barbarian. You're really like raging in there. Yeah, but so what was cool is whenever I started playing the barbarian, I was like, this isn't really usually my character, you know? Dude, whenever I played the barbarian, it was so sweet. Like I literally, at one point we were up on a cliff, right? And there was like goblins below us and I had a great axe and I was like, dude, you know what? I'm gonna huck this thing. And I literally like, I threw it down and it went flying through the air and it domed a goblin. Dude, it was sick. It was at least sick, man. So I definitely recommend, and anyone that plays this game, especially if you play D&D, if you have a class that you typically would not play in D&D, I 110% recommend you play it in Baldur's Gate 3. Because like my one friend played the druid, and whenever he told me whenever he was going into this week, he's like, you know, I never really thought I would be one to play a druid, or never really got into a druid. And he, by the end of it, dude, by the end of Act 1, he was loving the druid. The things he did was nuts. Like I have to show you guys some clips. Like it's, just check it out.
Tyler.
What? No way. Dude, what is that?
It's fly, son. That's why no one fucking allows it in their D&D game.
That's true. Also, one thing I really like, and it's kind of like how it goes in D&D, but the game's hard. Like there is no difficulty setting for the game, like at all. There's no difficulty setting. So you literally just have to go in there and you are going to get served. You're going to get wrecked, no doubt. because we didn't. Oh, that's one thing though. In all fairness, we did not take any of the NPC characters. Whenever we played, either the 2 people with 2 or the 3 people in total, we didn't use any extra characters. So everything that we did was with our characters. So for the majority of our week, we played a ranger, which was me, a druid, and a cleric. And we died a lot. Like, there was a couple times, especially when we went to the Underdark, there was a couple times we just got slaughtered. Like, it was no shot.
Oh my, poor Trevor. He just gets critted every 2 seconds.
Jesus Christ.
So it was it's the game's extremely hard, and but it's very fun, very rewarding. We ended up finally getting through like all the content yesterday. Not all the content, but a lot of the content. I will say not all the content, but we ended up getting through a lot of it yesterday. And like by the time you get to like about level 4-ish, I would say, you start doing really well and everything seems like a fair fight. But dude, level 1 to 3, forget it. It's so rough. It's so hard, but it's so fun. I cannot wait for the game to come out. One like tiny little thing I thought was really cool, but like honestly really added, was that depending on your location where you are, like if you're in the overworld, Underdark, inside like a dungeon or whatever, your camp location actually changes. So typically whenever you're outside, you go to like a camp, you see all your like buddies, you got the Gale and Shadowheart and whoever, but like usually it's outside near stream or whatever. But like I've had times where it was in the Underdark, or it was in like the well, there was the Underdark, and then there was like a kind of cave looking Underdark one, and then there was also one that was like, well, in a dungeon. Then we had it was changing every time. It was super cool. Like it changed every time, and it like really, instead of it just being like, oh, here's your camp in the surface, and then there you go, that's what it is. They literally took the time that if you went into a certain area, your camp location actually changed, and I thought that was so cool. Like that was such a minor thing, but I was like, oh, that's neat. All right, you guys, the story is insane. If you guys don't want any spoilers, skip ahead. Go ahead, get out of here. Skip ahead of this, like probably like a minute or so. I don't know. Anyways, the story is nuts. So whenever you start the game, you're like aboard a mind flayer ship, and you get infected by this like really super gross parasite that I hate so much. But anyways, you get infected by it, and you only have X amount of time or X amount of choices or whatever it is to get that thing out of your head before you turn into a parasite. Well, like that's the beginning of the story. That's like your goal. You have to find a healer. You have to find someone that can get it out of your head, right? But then like they have this side story with like this absolute that you have to like, that's like trying to talk to you, trying to convince you to join them. And then like there's like these 3 mysterious figures that speak for the absolute or whatever. And in Act 1 right now, you don't meet one of them, or you don't meet any of them, I don't believe. But, or at least I don't know. We haven't actually finished Act 1. We are very close. I think there's like maybe 4 more quests until we're technically finished with everything in early access. But dude, it's insane. It is insane. There's so many choices that you can do that literally you can't have the same thing twice, right? You can't do the same rules twice. You can't have it be the same thing twice. You can, you don't get me wrong, you can, but it's very unlikely, right? So this game, it's massive for like the amount of time and the amount of like choices you can make. There's just so much content. So I love the story. The story so far is fantastic. Everything kind of blends into each other. All the choices you make blend into each other. Every choice you make like causes a chain reaction of choices that you can make. And it's just, you almost have to play the game like 20 plus times. And like with a bunch of different characters. That's the other thing with characters. So if you have like an elf, right? And you have a tiefling, okay? Well, they will have different responses based on their race sometimes. Like I know, especially for this act, I played a tiefling, right? And I had a lot of interactions because a lot of characters, and I don't know how much you guys know about Dungeons and Dragons, but tieflings are like hated, essentially. Well, people hate tieflings, right? Because they're devilkin, essentially. And so I had a lot of interesting interactions with the human characters because they were racist towards my character because she was a tiefling. That's insane. So like you could have like all these different choices based on all these different races and on your class as well. Like I had a lot of different class interactions because as a ranger, I was able to track the drow that came, like the drow raiding party that attacked a village. So it was absolutely nuts. And as somebody that like is super into D&D like I am, it is so cool to see like all these different like factions in D&D be in Baldur's Gate 3, like I'm going to say it wrong, but like the Zentarim, I think, like the Black Network. So the Black Network, they were in there. Like they were just a minor player, but they were there. And I was like, oh man, I know what these guys are about, or like the Flaming Fist, or like stuff like that. It's so cool. It's so cool. I love it. I love it so much.
It was just a
Flaming, dude, it's a Flaming Fist.
What's that?
The Flaming Fist is a mercenary group.
I recognize the crest she bears, the winged serpent of the Zentarim.
Oh shit. The Black Network is here too.
One thing we did have a major issue with, though, like the entire week, was that we had a lot of connection issues. So interestingly enough, whenever me and Austin were playing, or me and Trevor, like if it was just the two of us, almost no issues at all. But whenever we try to get that third person in, it didn't go well. It didn't go well at all. Like we had, I think there was one night, I want to say it was Thursday, we had literally so many connection issues that by the time we finally got connected, we could only play for like 10 minutes before I had to hop off. And it was just like, that really sucked. And we weren't sure if it was because of Baldur's Gate or if it was because of like, some sort of Steam thing. Because by the time we ended up like shutting down Steam, like shutting down everything and restarting it, it worked fine for like the next couple hours. Like we even had those issues yesterday, and it was still like, once we got it working, it worked fine for the rest of the evening, thank goodness. But like, man, it was rough to get it started. So of course, not everything's good, right? We ran into quite a few issues. Like I mentioned earlier, we had a lot of network connection issues, but there's also a couple that were just rough to deal with. So one of the ones that we had to deal with was in the Grove. There's a hidden area, I won't tell you where, that you had to fight a camp of goblins, right? And there is a statue there. And if you go past a certain distance, that statue will shoot at you, right? Well, my one friend I was playing with got shot down by it. And like, I mean, he was down by it. And so I went up to pick him up and get him, heal him, whatever. And I picked him up. And before he could even move far enough to like get away from the shot, it shot him again. Like we literally got to the point that I had to use a revivify scroll on him because we couldn't save him. Every time he got up, he got shot down by the thing again. So that kind of sucked. And then like I was playing, like I said, a ranger. And whenever I was playing my ranger, if I went Beastmaster because, like, come on, you got to go Beastmaster if you're playing a hunter, right? So yeah, your pets, at least right now, don't level up with you. Like, I don't know if that's like a standard D&D thing because I don't typically play a ranger, but your pets don't level up with you. So I had 32 health and my wolf had like 11. And so whenever we were fighting like the higher level stuff, it would get one shot. And it's just like, well, why do I even have them? So that sucked too. I do think whenever the game fully comes out, if I do play a ranger again, I'll probably go the hunter way where I can get like Horde Breaker or like the Colossus Slayer or whatever. But because it's like right now, it's just like, I literally had to use my pets as distractions. And I'm somebody that like, I want to stay with my pet and like heal them up and like, maybe form like a bond between the characters, between me and my hunter's pet. But instead it just feels like I'm summoning them to use them as fodder. And that's the kind of the other thing that sucks is in combat, you can't summon a pet. So you have to literally summon the pet before you go into combat. Know you're going to go into combat and go in there and they die. And now you don't have it. Now you're just screwed out of like half your class. So I would definitely go hunter again. That was kind of, or I would go ranger again and then I would go hunter because that was something that kind of sucked. But honestly, that was like really the only major thing I experienced that was super bad. Like that and the network issues and just kind of like a couple of those things where like, we would try to bring somebody back up and they just get shot down again. And it just like, I don't know if maybe we were playing wrong or like if there's something we could have done that would have been better, but that kind of sucked. But dude, I literally can't wait until this game releases later this year. Cause like they still have to add the monk and everything. And that's something one of my friends wants to try out before, obviously it gets released. But literally whenever this game releases, it's literally all I'm going to do. And I think what we're trying to do is whenever Baldur's Gate actually releases, we're trying to go on and get a 4-man run of it. So like around August area, look on this channel for a Baldur's Gate playthrough. Because I think what I might do, because we were having such a good time with it, I might actually post like a full playthrough of it. So that's going to be a lot of stuff to get through. So that's going to be really interesting later on. But dude, I'm so excited. The game's amazing as is. We've been playing it almost nonstop like this past week. And we just like every time, it was actually very funny. Every time we would go to stop, we'd be like, oh yeah, we could do like another 2 hours or so, right? And then we go the 2 hours and then we're like, we could go another hour, because the game's that good. The game's that good. So I I highly recommend the game. I highly recommend the game. I'm so much looking forward to whenever it comes out. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you're excited for Baldur's Gate as much as I am. I'm so looking forward to it in August. Like, it's so hype. Please let me know if you play the game or if you have a class that you're looking forward to playing. And until next time, stay amazing and GG.